What is going on, everybody? Mike Bailey here with Flyers Face Off. We're back. It's been it's been a couple weeks since we last done one with the summer break and stuff. But I'm joined here with Dan Silver. It's just me and Dan today. We're gonna be breaking down some of the Flyers. Wayne Simmonds has been in contract negotiations. That was reported today. Andrew McDonald, fan favorite, is going to miss the next 6 weeks. What does that mean for the defense? And what could happen? Well, me and Dan are going to talk about that. Dan's going to shed his input, and we'll go from there. So how you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good, man. It's Eagles had a nice win. It was like deja vu from the playoffs last year against the Falcons. It's like, one of those things where you're watching the game and you're like, oh, this time around maybe the Falcons will actually score a TD, but no, they didn't. So, we're still Super Bowl champs. We're 1-0, feeling our oats about that. And yeah, there's a lot of Flyer stuff going on. I mean, camp opens this coming week,
Yep.
and the AMAC news today was like a shot out of the blue, right? I didn't see that coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just I just happened to look at my phone. I saw a message on there saying AMAC's out 6 weeks. It's like you don't want anybody to get injured. You don't want to wish the injury on nobody. AMAC. I just want to put this out there. AMAC is not like a horrible defenseman. He's not good. He's not bad. It's his contract that I have the biggest issue with, but that's besides the point. But he's going to be missing the next 6 weeks. Now, that kind of opens it up for Phil Myers and Travis Sanheim. Kind of like a couple years ago when Mark Street got hurt, Shane Gostisbehere come out of nowhere. We all knew he could do this, but we didn't know he was this good. I'm not saying that Travis Sanheim or Fleet Myers has to do the exact same thing, but now's your chance. You got 6 weeks. You got to show the big guys why you belong up here, and show why AMAC needs to be either in the bench or back in the AHL. So who do you think is going to shine? Is it going to be Myers, Sanheim, or are they going to play Christian Folin?
Yeah, so I mean that's like the worst nightmare, right? I mean the news broke on Twitter today, and Flyers fans who are kind of like always down on Dave Haxtell were like, oh, all this means is that Christian Folin is going to be playing 18 minutes a night on the second or third pairing. I don't think so. I mean, I think that so Haxtell with Travis Sanheim last year clearly didn't love the way that Sanheim played in the defensive zone. My take on Phil Myers is I actually think that Dave Haxtell is a bigger fan of Phil Myers than Sanheim. If you remember when we signed him as a free agent and he came into camp just as an 18-year-old, he actually stuck around for a while. And my take was that I thought that Haxtell actually thought that Myers was kind of performing better than Sanheim was in that camp. And the thing about Phil Myers is he's very good offensively, but he's very instinctual in the defensive zone. I think more so than Travis Sanheim. I think his positioning is a little bit better defensively, and I think he's the kind of guy that Dave Haxtell actually will like. So people like ripping on Haxtell because he benched Ghost a lot, he benched Konechny, he benched Sanheim, but he also played Ivan Provorov for 82 games his rookie year. He played Nolan Patrick for every game that he was healthy last year. So I think that, he put Konechny on the first line last year for half the season. I think sometimes he gets a bad rap on this stuff, and I think he is a fan of Phil Myers. So for me, if Phil Myers can come into camp and be healthy, I think that he probably has a pretty good shot of winning a spot in the top six. And I think Sanheim, the McDonald injury definitely means that Sanheim is going to see substantive minutes early on in the season. But I think Folin's going to remain the seventh defenseman, and I think that Phil Myers will probably grab that top six defenseman spot and run with it.
Now, one thing that we all want to see continuing this year was Ghost playing on that first line with Provorov. AMAC's not going to be there to play with Provorov. It kind of makes sense, like, hey, Ghost, Provorov, they did really good last year. You can't put AMAC there now, so just continue it. Let him go back to playing. Put Sanheim or Myers on that second pairing, and all should be well. I'm trying to think it's going to go that way, but there's just too much of Haxtell's past that I know you say, like, Hacksaw. He played Provorov. He plays Provorov. He played Patrick. I think those are kind of no-brainers. I kind of think that Ghost on the top pairing is a no-brainer, and Konechny is a no-brainer on the first line. But you kind of see Hack just kind of goes back and kind of tries to play safe, which ultimately doesn't really do well. So I want to see Ghost in that top pairing. I want to see Sanheim play more, and I want to see Myers. I just have a feeling that we're going to see a little bit more Foligno than Folin. I don't know his last name. I've never even heard the guy before until we signed him.
I know, right?
So I just have a feeling that we're actually going to see him a little bit more than what we want to. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it's kind of...
I mean,
yeah.
He might play a little bit. I think that Phil Myers' talent is kind of undeniable. And you bring up an interesting point with how the pairings are going to go, right? Because Provorov and Ghost were so good last year as a top pairing. But, and I tweeted this out earlier today, it's hard to see Dave Hackstall putting two rookie-type guys together. So I don't know if he's going to be comfortable putting together Travis Sanheim and Phil Myers or Robert Haig and Phil Myers. I just don't know. So one thought, potentially, is that I thought that Ghost and Robert Haig were pretty good last year together. And Ghost actually came out and said he liked playing with Haig because Haig is a lefty, but he can play the right side. So Ghost can play his natural left side. He's a left-handed defenseman. When Ghost plays with Provorov, Ghost plays the right side. So they were phenomenal together, but I think that Ghost is a little more comfortable on the left. So one possibility is at this point, Provorov is our number one defenseman. Yeah. He's seasoned. And Phil Myers is a big right-handed defenseman. One of the potential ways to pair the sixth defenseman is you could have Provorov and Phil Myers, because the Provorov's solid in the defensive zone, and Phil Myers will be able to then have a little more confidence as a rookie playing with Ivan Provorov. You could have Ghost and Haig together. And then the pairing that I think most people kind of assume is going to happen is Sanheim and Gudas, especially now that McDonald's hurt. Because last year, Sanheim was very good with McDonald. He was okay with Gudas, and that's kind of the pairing that makes sense, right? Gudas stays home. Sanheim can do his thing in the neutral zone and offensive zone. So I think it's probably more likely that Ghost and Provi stay together, but I think there is a shot that you could see Provorov Myers, Ghost Haig, and Gudas Sanheim. I think there's a shot of that. Look, I'm sure that Foligno will play some games early on, but I still feel like Phil Myers' talent will win out ultimately over him. You're skeptical.
Yes. Too much stuff has happened the last few seasons where I believe that maybe they're starting to learn from the past that, hey, just let them play. I mean, we have preseason. It's time to, like how you gave Drew the opportunity to go to left wing, start experimenting with stuff in the preseason, see how it goes. If it works well enough, like it did with Drew on the wing, then I don't see why you don't continue it in the season. At least they'll give it the first couple weeks, see how it goes. If it's still going good, awesome, keep it up. You might have some issues of players never playing with each other before or something like that. But just let them work it over. Let them get used to playing with each other. Just let it happen. That's all I want is just let it happen. Like, what do we have to lose? We've got knocked out of the first round of playoffs these last few years, or we haven't made the playoffs, one or the other. It's like just you have a group of talented young D-men. Just let it happen. Let them play. Let them have fun. Because you can tell when they're having fun, they're playing good, they're playing amazing hockey, good things happen. But you can kind of tell when Hacksaw is trying to make them play safe and things just kind of go sour from there. But, of course, it's not just a Hacksaw thing. There's many other things, but it's just, I'm trying. I really am trying. So I don't think it's even reported what is wrong with AMAC or what happened to him. It's just an off-season injury.
It's a lower body injury?
Okay, lower. So I guess that narrows it down to...
So he wasn't decapitated, and he didn't lose an arm.
But he could have broke his penis like Mike Street did. That's an LP.
That stride injury was an ugly thing. I don't even know what happened there. But
good things came out of it, so... If you have to sacrifice a veteran penis to have a young D-man come up and do good, then I guess I'm kind of all for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, no one wants to see anyone get injured, but it's
Yeah.
not like Andrew McDonald is dead or anything like that. Like, fans have a right to be excited about the possibilities that this injury opens up because it means that Phil Myers will probably get a longer look. And most of us believe that Phil Myers is more talented than Andrew McDonald. So, the result is we don't want to see anyone injured, but it's not, presumably, it's not a life threatening injury. So,
Yeah.
it's, Amac's going to be fine. And this now gives an opportunity for a guy who a lot of us want to see play.
Yeah, he's only going to be out 6 weeks, so it's not life or death. He's fine. He's alive. He's still making too much money a year, so all things are good for Amac other than the injury. So other than the injury and other Flyers-related news came at the beginning of the week, I think it was, or over the weekend, was contract negotiations with Wayne Simmonds. I wasn't surprised to hear it. Maybe just it was a little bit later than I guess I thought it would happen, but they are talking. Hextall is interested in bringing back Simmonds. No idea what the contract would look like. Simmonds probably going to be one of his last contracts. Is going to want money in term, one of the two at least. I've seen some people throwing out random numbers of what they think it could be. What do you think, Dan? What do you think his contract would look like if he was to re-sign here in Philadelphia? Knowing that, do you think Simmonds would be a team player? Well, I don't want to call him a team player, he wants to win a Stanley Cup. Obviously, this team is trending in the right direction. Do you think he might want to take a little bit of a hit on the contract to stay part of this team? Or is he just going to go on and be like, hey, it's one of my last contracts, it's about me?
I mean, look, Wayne Simmonds has been a huge bargain for the Flyers over the last number of years. I mean, they signed him to a very friendly contract, making less than $4 million a year. I don't think that this is a situation where he's going to take a hometown discount. I mean,
Yeah.
he was making $3.97 million a year. I'm still very skeptical that a deal's going to get done just because Ron Hextall knows that. I think they would give him a lot of money on a short-term deal, right? Like maybe like a 3-year deal for $7 million a year, something like that. Maybe 4 years. But I think Wayne Simmonds is going to be able to get like 5-6 years on the open market and get $6-7 million a year. And I don't think that Ron Hextall is going to want to give him that much money.
Right.
I'm also a little bit skeptical of what kind of numbers he's going to put up this year, just because he is coming off some surgeries. And as we saw with Shane Gostisbehere and Claude Giroux, it is not the easiest thing in the world to come back from surgery and be good right away. I mean, the team is saying all the right things like, hey, we expect him to be fine right away. But the reality is you're coming off surgery, sometimes tough to get back. Plus, he's going to be playing on the third line. We don't even know who the third line center is going to be right now. I mean, does it instill confidence in you to have Scott Lawton or Jordan Wheel as the third line center? Probably not. So one of those guys will likely be the third line center, but Simmonds is not going to probably score a lot of even strength points.
Right.
So he's going to be relying on the power play. Well, the Flyers know that James Van Riemsdyk or Nolan Patrick can be in that spot in front of the net that Simmonds usually has. So the Flyers could take him off that first power play unit just with the idea of diminishing his stats so that maybe his contract wouldn't be as big.
Right.
I don't know if they would do that. I think that they will probably do what they think is right, so to help the team. So maybe Simmonds is still in that first unit, but I don't think he's going to have a huge offensive season.
No.
So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I still think a team out there will give Wayne Simmonds a 5 or 6 year deal, and I don't think Ron Hextall is going to give him a deal that long. So I still think the likeliest scenario is Simmonds plays out the year with the Flyers. They make the playoffs, so they keep him. They don't trade him at the deadline, and then they lose him in the offseason. I think that still possibly could happen.
That's really what I've been thinking, too, because if you're in a playoff rush, you're not going to trade Wayne Simmonds. You don't do that. If he's producing, you don't trade Wayne Simmonds. If they're out of the playoffs, and that's a big disappointment, then yeah, I can understand trading Simmons. Yeah, I'm pretty much agree with you that I think this is going to be his final season in Philadelphia. It's not really my happiest moment as a Flyers fan, seeing that Simmons will be gone next year most likely, but and like you said, the injuries from last season, like even though he did have all those injuries, he didn't have a terrible season. It was an unlike Wayne Simmons season, but it wasn't by any means like a horrible season. I don't have his stats up in front of me right now, but I know they weren't like completely horrible. I know he's had like 23, 24 goals still last year. I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, it's still mid-20s, so I mean, it's not horrible.
I mean, a lot of it, again, though, a lot of his stats last year were on the power play. Early in the season, I want to say. What did he? So, yeah, he scored 24 goals. I guess 11 on the power play, 12 even strength.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd expect him to score, maybe a little bit of an uptick this year because he won't actually be injured. He'll just be recovering from an injury. Right. So maybe like 25 goals and 25 assists, something like that. Look, a lot of the things that Wayne Simmons brings are intangibles. Like they always talk about how in the locker room, Claude Giroux is like the good cop and Wayne Simmons is the bad cop. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of the younger players, he plays an important role. I don't think it's a role that's going to be worth $6-7 million a year for the next 5 to 6 years.
Exactly.
But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, you made a good point. Like you said, if the Flyers are firmly entrenched in a playoff spot, it's very hard to see them trading Wayne Simmons at the deadline.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with this. What comes up at the trade deadline, whether they're in a playoff spot or if they're doing the Flyer thing of every other season making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. So very interesting to see what's going to happen this off season. So yeah, today's going to be a little bit of a short episode because we're kind of short some other people.
Just me and you holding down the fort.
Yeah, it's well, one of them laptop broke and the other one is a I don't know how you say this. Is a Cowboys fan.
That's rough, man.
I'm not gonna name no names. We're not gonna do that. But one of the other ones is
It's just a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. I don't even know if he was alive the last time the Cowboys won a playoff game.
No, he definitely was.
Was he? Yeah.
He's older than me, and I saw them win some Super Bowls, but Man. But they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. That was the Eagles.
Yeah, that's who won last season. The Eagles. I couldn't remember there for a second. I was sitting there thinking, who won the Super Bowl last year? That's right, the Eagles. So I did something during the week. Earlier this week, I wrote an article. If you haven't seen it, check it out. FlyersFaceoff.com. It is my opinion on the 5 players that I'm looking forward to playing this season. Your list could be different. I don't know why it would be different, but it could be different.
It's a good piece. Everyone should check it out.
But yeah, my 5 players. Number 1, Nolan Patrick. What he did last season, beginning of the season, he was injured. Then he had the concussion towards the end of October, beginning of November. I don't remember exact date, but it was right there in the middle of towards the beginning of the season. He had a slow start to the season, but as he regained his confidence, got healthy, come on. Look what this dude did during the season. I don't have his stats up because my other monitors got Dan's face on it right now. But what he did last season, is just giving me so much hope to what he's going to be coming into the future for this season. I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. Provorov, he didn't have a sophomore slump. I know Ghost didn't, but Patrick, I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. I think he's going to prove himself this season why he went second overall. He's going to put all those people that are saying he's probably going to be a bust and injury issues and whatever y'all want to say about him. I think he's going to shut y'all down this season, and he's going to come close to 30 goals this season. He's going to be 28 or more goals, 28 to 32 goals this season. I think 68 points is what I had him at for the end of the season. But I think it's something that going to happen this season, that he's going to come close to 30 goals. Now, with that being said, you have Drew, Couturier, Konechny's, he's another one. I think I had him at 3. Yeah, he was 3 on my list. So you have three guys on the top line. 2 of them are former 30-goal scorers. You have Konechny. He's going to come close to 30 this year or past 30. Second line, you got JVR, Patrick. JVR is another former 30-goal scorer. Scored 36 last year for a career high. Patrick's going to come close to 30 this year. You have Simmons on the third line. So that right there, you've got six players on the Flyers in the top 3 lines that could possibly hit 30 goals, that have hit 30 goals in their career or will hit 30 goals at some point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about Nolan Patrick for a little bit because, you know, the Flyers drafted Ivan Provorov, and so what I did was the next year I got the WHL playoff package, so I could watch all of Provorov's games in the playoffs. And while I was doing that, Nolan Patrick was having an incredible playoff. He had 30 points in 21 games after scoring 102 points in the regular season in 72 games. And I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, man, I wish the Flyers were going to be bad enough next year so they could have a chance to draft Nolan Patrick. Like, that would be incredible. And, of course, the Flyers finished, 9th or 10th overall, and they hit the jackpot in the lottery. They get down to number 2. Nico Hischier, who is a deserving number 1 pick, goes to the Devils. But the only reason Nolan Patrick went second was because he had an injury-plagued draft season. You look at what he did the season before as a 16/17-year-old, and it was phenomenal. I mean, everyone was saying that Nolan Patrick is the consensus number 1 pick. The Flyers get him at number 2. He had surgery right before the draft, so he came into the season recovering from the surgery. The first half of the season, he looked slow. You could tell that the hockey sense was there and the defensive responsibility was there, but it just wasn't coming together. And then the second half of the season, Nolan Patrick was really good. I mean, his speed picked up. He started looking like the player that I saw when I was watching the playoffs 2 seasons before in the WHL. This year, Nolan Patrick is going to be centering the second line with James Van Riemsdyk, who's a 36-goal scorer from last year, and Jake Voracek, who's one of the best offensive players in the league. I think you're going to be looking at a massive season from Nolan Patrick, assuming he can stay healthy, because this is one of the first off seasons in a long time that Nolan Patrick has gone into the off season healthy. He's had the entire off season to train. I think that he is going to be one of the most improved players in the NHL this season, and the Flyers are going to have 2 lines that are going to be absolutely deadly. Like the Flyers' offense this year is going to be very, very good, and Nolan Patrick's going to be a big part of it.
I know that Patrick, he respects Provorov a lot. You can see it in the comments he puts on like Instagram and stuff. He calls him king. I think that he might be, if he picks up like Provorov's training regiment and everything. Provorov, he's just what he does for training is unbelievable. He's a beast. If Patrick can do like the same thing and be as strong and do everything that Provorov does, if you have like a Provorov type forward that can put the puck in the net, oh my god.
I don't think anyone can do what Provorov does in the offseason. Yeah. Like you see, I got the jersey, the Wheat Kings jersey in the background. Yeah. Like he's a monster. I mean, he's running up and down hills with like truck tires. Yeah. Like he's an absolute behemoth. I don't think Nolan Patrick is probably doing that. But I know Mikhail Sergachev from the Lightning, I think, is Provorov's off-season training partner.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think that Patrick is like a beast unto himself. I mean, he came into the league with some injury concerns. Mm-hmm. He had the concussion, but that was it. So maybe he's a guy that's maybe going to stay healthy a decent amount, knock on some wood over here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting to think about him with an off-season of training. And Travis Konechny too is a guy who. He had a full off season of training. I think he's going to come into this year, going to be on the first line with Couturier and Giroux, and just going to have a monstrous season. Yeah. So I think scoring is the least of this team's concerns. I mean, this team's concerns are all about the net. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the third line center.
Yeah. Um, it's we basically have two first lines, so
We do, yeah.
that's amazing. But like you said, goaltending. It's just one of those things that we're gonna have to hope that the defense is strong enough that they can clear the crease and give Elliot Neuver some help. Well, I'll throw in Lyons in there too because we're gonna see him next year because the annual Neuwirth lower body injury is going to happen like it does every year. So it's it's gonna happen. So we're gonna see 3 goalies this year. Might see Carter Hart. Depends on how he does in the offseason. I don't expect to see Carter Hart next year. It's not that I'm a doubter. It's just I'm fine with giving him one complete season in the AHL. Like I'm not saying like don't rush him, but I'm just saying like just give him a season in the AHL. Let him see what he can do down there. If he does amazing, then yeah, bring him up. But when Northern goes down and they put Lions in, I don't want to see all Fire fans out there freaking out because it's not Hart. Just don't. Just let Hart do what he does in the AHL. Let him build up his confidence down there. Then bring him up. But like, just don't be mad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ron Hextall always talks about he lets the young kids, determine when they're going to be ready for the NHL by their play, right? Nolan Patrick came in as an 18-year-old. He was ready for the NHL. Ivan Provorov and Travis Konecny came in as 19-year-olds. They were ready for the NHL. Carter Hart's now 20 years old. I think that everyone sort of agrees that he's probably going to start the season in the AHL. Look, let's let him see how he does in the AHL, right? It's a tough transition for a lot of players going from Canadian juniors to the AHL. Maybe he's going to struggle, right? If Carter Hart comes into the AHL and is extremely good, and the Flyers have injury issues in net with Neuwirth and Elliott, then I think maybe it's fair to say that Carter Hart could potentially have a shot to get on the Flyers roster at some point this season. There's an interesting article this week. I forget who wrote it. I think it might have been an NBC Sports Philly article about the goalie's off-season training regimen, and that Neuwirth was in Philly all off-season, and I think Brian Elliott was in Philly, and they were really concentrating on their diet and their training. I think that Neuwirth was doing like yoga every day. A lot of that stuff is hocus pocus, and every off-season guys are always like, oh, I'm feeling the most healthy that I ever have.
Yeah.
But look, maybe these guys are going to come in this year and be healthy. I still think that Elliott can be a very good goalie. Neuwirth, when he's healthy, can be very good. So, those guys, we'll see. I think we'll have a rebound year from both of those guys. I think Carter Hart will probably be pretty good in the AHL.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I put out there on Twitter this week, which I was interested in because I just went and looked at some of the pending unrestricted free agent goalies out there to see who might be available at the trade deadline. So Sergei Bobrovsky, who started his career in Philadelphia, is an unrestricted free agent. You would assume that the Columbus Blue Jackets will be in a playoff spot and will not be looking to trade him. However, the Eastern Conference is very contentious. There's a lot of very good teams, and Artemi Panarin is also an unrestricted free agent, which I think with Panarin and Bobrovsky as unrestricted free agents, there's kind of going to be like a dark cloud hanging over the Blue Jackets this season. I think there's a chance that team really struggles. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, then maybe Sergei Bobrovsky is available at the trade deadline. Right. And the Flyers have enough pieces where they could trade some prospects to get a guy like Bobrovsky, maybe a guy like Tanner Laczynski, who I think is going to have a huge junior season at Ohio State. I don't know where he fits in the Flyers because the Flyers have so many forward prospects. Maybe you look at trading like a draft pick in Tanner Laczynski and you can get back a Bobrovsky, something like that. Or another guy, Pekka Rinne. He just won the Vezina Trophy. However, he's a pending unrestricted free agent. Nashville has a really good young goalie in UC Saros, who I'm going to guess that UC Saros is probably going to get more and more ice time this year. And Nashville may not want to re-sign Pekka Rinne to a big contract. So maybe there's a chance that Nashville wants to trade away Pekka Rinne, possibly at the trade deadline. So I'm just saying that if Elliott and Neuwirth get injured, it's not only Carter Hart that you could be looking at. You could potentially see the Flyers trade for a pending unrestricted free agent. There's some of those guys out there. So, I think there are some possibilities if this team looks like they're a complete offensive juggernaut and Phil Myers comes up and him and Sanheim are killing it behind Provorov and Ghost, and the only missing piece for this team is goalie. I think there's a shot that they could trade for a guy too.
Exactly, and during the season last year, it's the only thing the Flyers are actually consistent at is being inconsistent. You see it all the time. They'll play amazing one game and then they go 10 games and not win a game. Well, then they start to look like they're on fire, and then going into the playoffs, they didn't look bad, and then they hit the playoffs and they kind of hit a rough spot. So I don't want to. I'm not going to say it's just goaltending is the issue, but goaltending would help. Another thing is Hackstall. You can't run Brian Elliott into the ground like that again.
He loves running his goalies into the ground.
Rene and Bobrovsky, they might want to be like, why would I want to go to Philadelphia and just be drilled into the ice?
Just as a rental, right? Not past this season, but
yeah. I have faith in Elliott. He wasn't a horrible goalie last year. I think he still had 21 wins and 11 losses, which really isn't bad, seeing as how the Flyers' goaltending usually is. It's not horrible.
It's all about the injuries, right?
Pretty much. He gets injured at the wrong time, and then Neuwirth goes down, and then Lyon comes up, and Lyon doesn't do horrible, but he's still. I don't think he's.
I'm not a big fan of Alex Lyon. I did a little bit of research on his AHL numbers are not very good. And I think he's had 2 straight seasons in the AHL of under a 9-10 save percentage.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a single goalie who was a good NHL goaltender who had 2 straight seasons in the AHL of sub 9-10 save percentages. I don't think Alex Lyon is that good of a goalie. I think as a NHL backup, maybe playing 20 games a year, he could be okay. But he's not the kind of guy who's going to all of a sudden turn into an NHL star. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. I just don't think Alex Lyon's positioning is that good. I don't think his composure is that good. Maybe as a backup, but he's not going to be the guy.
What he did against the Charlotte Checkers last year doesn't mean nothing about what he can do in the NHL. It's a completely different league. Nothing to take away what he did. 94 saves. That's a hell of a feat. But don't think that he's going to be like a Carey Price when he comes to the Flyers. If he comes to the Flyers, he's going to be a backup behind Carter Hart. Once Carter Hart proves he's ready to play up in the league. Stoli the goalie. I kind of forget about him just because he was injured last season, and he's kind of like Lions to me. He's not. He's kind of he's a backup. It's really all I see Stola as at.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I thought maybe he had some high-end NHL potential, but he's missed 2 seasons with a knee injury. That just doesn't instill a lot of confidence. So I think for Stolarz, it's all about proving that he can be an AHL goalie again this year. I just don't really see him as an NHL option unless his knee has made some miraculous recovery and he is, really good off the bat. I think that Carter Hart is the only legitimate alternative to our 2 NHL goalies right now, and he's not going to start the season in the NHL. But if Carter Hart, dominates the AHL for a half season, maybe we see him up.
Right. Yeah. Another thing from my article I wrote was from the top 5 players was I did some predictions, and I did Claude Giroux and Sean Couturier. Now, Claude Giroux, they both had a miraculous season last year. I'm not going to expect the exact same thing out of Claude Giroux. I think he's probably going to... He's going to... can't think of the word now. He's not going to be as good as last year. He's not going to put the same amount of points. He'll still be good, but he's not going to be a 100-point plus player next year.
Might regress a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, tell me if you heard this before. Claude Giroux regresses a little bit from the following season. I mean, the last 4 seasons, I think it is, he goes down by 7 or more points each season, to where he hit 54 points last year, and everyone's like, okay, he's done. And it's no more. Trade him, strip to C. Well, they stripped the C. They just stripped him of a center position for a little bit to let him play on the wing, which worked amazingly. But I don't think he's going to be 100 points next year. I don't need him to be 100 points every year when you have Patrick's going to be improving, Konechny's going to be improving, they're going to put up more points. I think he's probably going to be right around 24, 25 goals, which is good for Claude Giroux because he normally doesn't score a lot. And he's going to be right around 80, 85 points. He's going to be setting up Couturier in front of the net, or Konechny's going to be setting up Konechny, one of the two. So I really don't think Claude Giroux's going to have the season he had last year, but he's not going to have a bad season. He's still going to have an amazing season. Same with Couturier. I don't think he's going to put up near the same amount of points, because after they played last year together, all these teams, what they do over the season is they look at tape, and what happens during the off season is they study it. So other teams are going to be be able to defend it better. But that's okay, because we added JVR in that second line. So now we have 2 first lines.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, I don't see any reason why Giroux and Couturier can't put up similar numbers to what they put up last year. It's all about the injuries. I mean, Couturier already has got this somewhat question mark with his knee going into the season. I don't love that, but what this team's top power play unit is so stacked, and the top 2 lines are so stacked that I wouldn't be surprised if Giroux scores 95 to 100 points this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Couturier does the same thing he did last season. I mean, we're talking about very talented offensive players, and I mean, honestly, the Flyers' power play, they could even improve a little bit from last year.
Oh, yeah.
So I think health is always the most important thing, right? If these guys stay healthy, I think that they could put up similar numbers to last season. And I think Travis Konechny and Nolan Patrick's numbers are going to explode compared to what they did last season, especially if you get a full season of Konechny on the first line and a full season of Nolan Patrick on the second line with JVR staying healthy. So I have no concerns about our top offensive players. My concerns are all centered around third line center, maybe the bottom defense pairing, and the goalies. But those are my only concerns for this hockey team this season. I think they're going to take a big step forward. They had, 98 points last year, the Flyers? I think they get over 100 points this year. I think that the Penguins are probably the best team in the division, but I think that the Flyers could challenge to be the second best team in the division. I think there's going to be a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover, maybe literally, for the Capitals. I live down in D.C., and these guys are still drunk running around the city. Yeah. So, I think the Flyers are going to have a real shot to finish second in the division.
But the penalty kill.
That's rough.
They were second to last, third to last season. What Hextall say, they improved by 0.1 point towards the end of the season after what they've been going through all season. It was in the 70s. Either penalty kill percentage was in the 70s, I think it was. It's not good. It's not good. That's if they want to improve on something, it's on your penalty kill. Now, I'm hoping. Obviously, Lappy's still here, so unless they're going to be like, okay, you're the PK coach, but you're not really going to be doing much PK stuff. We'll just call you the PK coach because we don't want to get rid of you. Whatever. But they need to change what they do on the PK, and they really didn't add anything to the offseason, like Hextall said, was, hey, we're going to get a PK specialist. I don't know if Christian Folin is a PK specialist, but he's not going to play much. So you can't really say, well, there's our PK specialist. Do you see an improvement in the PK?
They're not going to be. I mean, look, they can't be any worse, right? They were like 75% on the penalty kill last year. They were 29th in the league. So they can't be any worse. I saw something interesting this week. Was Sam Carchidi mentioned that he thought that Travis Konechny was going to get a shot on the penalty kill. That could be exciting. I mean, there's a guy that could, like an Alexander Barkov, could score a bunch of goals on the penalty kill with his speed, and he could help pressure the blue line. I mean, that could be exciting. They might still stink, but at least we'll have a guy who maybe can score some goals on the penalty kill. You know, I think that Nicholas Aube-Kubel was on the penalty kill a little bit with the Phantoms. He's a guy that I'm kind of hoping might make the Flyers this year as a fourth-line winger. Could bring some speed and some grit to the penalty kill. I think that Ivan Provorov will improve on the penalty kill. I mean, his game's going to keep getting better. Right. You know, he still had some lapses on the penalty kill last year. I think that Gudas is going to have a better year. I mean, he can't be any worse than he was for at least the second half of last season in the playoffs. I mean, he was a train wreck. Mm-hmm. So I think he'll be a little bit better. But you're right. It comes down to coaching, right? How much do we think that terrible penalty kill had to do with Ian LaPerriere's coaching? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Right. But a lot of us were expecting him to be out of a job. He still has a job. So I think the penalty kill is going to be better. But I will say this. If their penalty kill is as bad as it was last year, this year, there's no way that LaPerriere will still be the coach of the penalty kill. You know, they will make a change there if their penalty kill is terrible. But they've got one more year to fix it under him.
If their penalty kill is as bad as it was last year, coming up this year, I don't think they make it past the first round again because you have to be good on your special teams. The penalty kill is something that they just have to improve on. Like, I just sit here and look at this team and, like, you should not be this bad on the penalty kill. You really shouldn't be this bad. I mean, Filppula is gone.
Thank God.
You still have Laterra.
Hopefully he's in the press box or with the Phantoms.
That's what I'm hoping. But just picture this. Laterra, Weiss, Amac, Folan on your penalty kill at the same time.
I don't want to picture that. Well, you got to ruin my day, man.
Because it's a possibility.
Yeah, I guess.
It could happen sometime during the season, and Weiss is going to get a shorthanded goal.
How about this? Provorov and Ghost. No, how about this? Provorov and Myers and Konechny and Wayne Simmons. How about that?
That'd work. I could do that.
Or Nolan Patrick, you know, or Scott Lawton and Konechny.
Or hell, even put Couturier and Drew out there.
Positive thoughts. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, no one says that your penalty kill has to be your slowest, toughest guys. Not toughest, but your bottom liners. No one said, like, maybe, yes, years ago, yes, that was usually your penalty kill. But nowadays, your PK should be able to score. Like, maybe not score because Filppula and Laterra both scored shorthanded goals last year, but they should be able to do something with the puck. They should be able to generate offensive chances, not just hang back 10 feet from the guy with the puck and play zone. Like, no, attack. Just attack the whole time. What they need to do is have Doug Peterson come in there and be like, no matter what the scoreboard is, no matter what time is left, you just go for it the whole time. You never give up. You play the whole game as if you're losing, even if you're winning. The PK, man, it confuses me so much. So we're gonna wrap this up here shortly, but first, any other topics you wanted to talk about?
You know, I mean, it'll be interesting to see Morgan Frost in camp. He had a phenomenal season in the OHL, obviously. He was the runner-up for MVP. Mm-hmm. He put up, 100-plus points. He basically scored the same points per game as Travis Konechny did in his Draft Plus One season, and then Konechny came out and made the Flyers. I think that the team has kind of set it up for him to go back to juniors. I mean, Ron Hextall keeps talking about how he needs to mature physically. I was very excited to watch the World Junior Championship Summer Showcase about a month ago. And as impressed as I was with Joel Farabee and Jay O'Brien and Noah Cates, is how kind of like disappointed I was in Morgan Frost. He played up and down the lineup for Canada, and he had different line mates, and he didn't really get a consistent spot, but he also just was not that assertive, and he didn't look great. And I understand it's a small sample size, but those games were important because they helped decide who's going to be on the Canadian World Junior team. So I think that they were important games, and he didn't really show his best hockey. He's going to get another shot in Flyers camp. He'll play in the rookie game against the Islanders. He'll play in some preseason games. And if Morgan Frost really blows the socks off, I think he's got a shot to get that third-line center spot, but I think it's probably about 20%. I think it's much more likely he goes back to juniors.
Yeah.
But I think that is, to me, is one of the biggest storylines in camp. Obviously now Phil Myers is a big storyline in camp because of the McDonald injury. I don't think, barring an injury, there's no way Carter Hart starts the season with the Flyers. To me, the guy that I actually am most excited to maybe see get a spot is Nicolas Aube-Kubel, because he was 6th in the entire AHL and even strength points last year. He's like a post-type sleeper. He was a sniper in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He scored 38 goals 2 years in a row. He struggled his first year with the Phantoms. That happens to a lot of young kids. They turn pro, they struggle a little bit. But last year, he was great in the AHL. And I think he's a guy who could bring some scoring to the Flyers' third or fourth line. So Nicolas Aube-Kubel, I'm excited about. Morgan Frost, I'm excited to see how he plays. Phil Myers. Those are the main things for me.
Yeah. Another player that I'm kind of excited to see, which I don't think he's going to make it next year, is Danik Martel. He did play a little bit last season. He's fast. Like, I saw him live, and he is fast. It's nothing like on TV. He is fast. He did generate some chances last year in his few games he did play. I don't think he's going to make the team next year, if at all ever, because there's so many players above him. But have him on like a fourth line, and have a fast guy like that in a fourth line would be amazing. Even if he gets called up for an injury. But that's another player I'm excited to see. Isaac Ratcliffe next year, I'm hoping he'll be there. Third line, replace Simmons. He'll be there in front of the net, tipping in stuff. Sam Morin. I don't know what the future is with you in Philadelphia, but get better.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he'll be back by February, and we'll see what happens,
I think that's about it. We're a little disorganized because this kind of was like a last-minute thing.
We gave the folks some stuff to think about,
Yeah,
It's exciting, man, with camp starting this week. It's always a great time of the year. Eagles are starting up, and Flyers camp is starting. It's a lot of fun.
Man, it's like, I got up this morning, about 6 o'clock, went outside, took the dog out. 52 degrees outside. I was, hockey season's here. It's right around the corner.
We got a hurricane coming, man.
I seen that. I'm not even. It'll be coming up my way. Like I don't live in Philadelphia. I live up in Buffalo, so.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, well, it still might come up this way. I don't think it's going to do anything to us. It'll probably flood us, but that's about it. I mean, it's already flooded anyway with the tears of Bills fans and tears of Sabres fans.
I had the Ravens defense on my fantasy team, so I was pretty happy about the Bills' performance today.
How could you not be? I didn't even watch the game. I heard the game, but I didn't watch it. It looked bad, though. Yeah. I didn't even get to see the Eagles game. I had to sleep for work and stuff, so I'm kind of upset about that. Who's your you got any other players you're looking forward to? Like, do you think...
I mean, I like Mikhail Vorobyev is a guy that I really like. I think that he's I could see him developing into a Sean Couturier type of center, except without the offensive upside. Vorobyev is a big, strong Russian center. He's very good in the defensive zone. He's a very, very good playmaker. And so he's a guy that I think ultimately may settle in as the third or fourth line Flyers center for a long time to come. You know, a lot of these guys like Morgan Frost, Jay O'Brien, they could ultimately be shifted to the wing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Mikhail Vorobiev is a guy who can be shifted to the wing. I think he is a tried and true center, and I think that he could very easily win the Flyers' fourth line center role this year. I mean, if I was building a lineup right now, you'd have Couturier, Patrick, Lawton, and Vorobiev as my top four centers. You know, they've talked a lot about maybe moving Jordan Weal over to center because they didn't sign a third line center, and so maybe giving Weal a shot there. Maybe, you know, maybe Jordan Weal could do that. He's been good in spurts, but I just think that Mikhail Vorobiev is a much more prototypical NHL center, and you know, ultimately, I think that he's going to be a big part of this team's strength down the middle.
Yeah. Scott Laughton, you bring up Scott Laughton, a lot of people doubt him, but he kind of just he does his own thing. Like when he's good, and then he kind of just falls off. But I think Laughton's going to be your third line center this upcoming season. I don't think he might switch with Wheel once in a while, but I think it's mainly going to be Laughton. And hopefully Laterra is in the press box doing press box things and whatnot. But that's probably that's going to end our show for this week. We'll probably be back maybe not next weekend. We'll probably start going every other weekend only because there's not a whole lot going on right now. But if something big does come up, then we'll see what we can do and gather and put a show on together, and we'll be more organized next time. So yeah, for Flyers Face Off, I'm Mike Bailey. This is Dan Silver. Follow us on the Twitters on the screen there. Follow Dan Silver. He's got all the stats and stuff you want to read, you want to follow on. He's a very smart guy, knows what he's talking about. And me, I just retweet everything. So you guys have a good day, and go Eagles and go Flyers.